everybody, welcome to another quick video. Now, excuse the sound of running water. I'm actually sat next to a little stream at the bottom of Blowith Knot in the Lake District. Quite breezy, but what I'm here for today is to have a bit of a play on the OM-1 Mk2 Grad-ND. One of the reasons that I actually sort of looked at the Mark II initially and sort of thought it was a good idea is you've got the graduated live ND in there. So essentially it's like using a graduated filter like you put on the front element, and just let you sort of bring down sort of the higher sort of key elements in the scene. So if you've got a very bright sky, you can drop this on and it'll let you balance out. So it saves you sort of doing sort of post-production, doing sort of multi-shot and sort of HDRs and stuff like that. It's really simple setup, and something that, yeah, it sort of swayed me on buying the Mark II really. So I thought, right, I'll do a bit of a test, because what we've got at the minute is some quite hazy conditions. So looking out towards the fells from here, it's very hazy, quite breezy, but very hazy. There's a lot of sort of, I don't know, it's kind of like a thick atmosphere, if that sort of makes any sense to you. But the clouds are also absolutely stunning, as you can see behind me. Normally you wouldn't bother photographing on this sort of day unless you're throwing some black and whites out, because frankly it's too harsh. It's very bright. But for testing this, I thought it was ideal sort of conditions for it. So I'm going to have a little bit of a wander around, play with the settings. I'll actually talk you through how the settings actually work. What I'll probably do is throw you in camera while I'm actually setting it up, and so you can basically see how it works. But simple terms is, it's like carrying a graduated ND filter with you, and it lets you sort of bring the higher key elements down. And it doesn't have to be sky. You can actually sort of adjust the angle, positioning, sort of full 180 degree out. So you can actually, if you've got a really bright foreground but you want to sort of hold the sky out, you can do it with that as well. Works really quite nicely. But I'll have a little bit of a wander, get a few shots in. We may or may not get a sunset out of it. I don't know what's going to happen later, but we'll see what happens. So grab a couple of shots now, pop them up, and what I'm going to do, the first shot will be just a plain shot, and then the second one is with the graduated ND put on there. And this does have a few different settings on there as well, which I'll talk about, but I'll put the setting on there that it's actually sort of been recorded at. So let's have a bit of a wander and get back into the high winds and see what other things pop up. So a very basic rundown before I actually sort of give you sort of most of the detail is you've got 3 stops of graduated ND, 2 stop, a 4 stop and an 8 stop. Essentially those can then be drilled down, because you can actually go sort of hard, medium or soft on the gradient. So that's basically sort of how sort of gradient is. So you can have the soft is like quite a gentle gradient between sort of the dark and light. The medium sort of in between, the hard is like very much a sort of a harder cut off. It's not an exact sort of line, but yeah, it's a lot harder than the other two. So you can sort of select that between it. Adjusting it is really straightforward. Essentially, if you can get this to move right, there we go. On the back of the camera you've got your little D-pad, and that moves your actual sort of center point around, and you can move using the front dial. We'll actually adjust the angle sort of coarsely, and you can sort of fine tune it with the back dial. Really straightforward to use. It's accessible through the menu, but all I do is just assigned a button to it, so I can just like press that, I'm straight into it. The bit that confused me at first is, like the other features, I was expecting to just press the button and it'd stop, but it doesn't. You have to actually press and hold to actually sort of come out. Similarly, if you want to sort of reset everything to its default, so it's sort of, you've finished setting up a shot and you want to do another one that's completely different composition, press and hold the OK button for a couple of seconds, and that'll reset everything back to its default. So yeah, really easy to use, but really quite handy and quite powerful. Now where I'm at the moment, some fantastic cotton grasses behind me, and I was hoping about to get something sort of with that as a foreground, blowing out in the background, some nice sort of nice skies and stuff like that. Except for last week we had quite a lot of rain, and basically that's a bog. I just took 2 steps and aborted, so unfortunately it's not going to happen. Well, I've got a little sort of shot of the cotton grass close up, but yeah, unfortunately I can't really get into there. I've not got wellies, so that's not going to happen. But we'll have a little bit more of a wander around. There's a little sort of rock outcropping that I might be able to use to, yeah, get a bit of a foreground up. There's a couple of trees a bit further down as well that I might take a wander down the lane and see if I can get, but yeah, it's a bit more of a wander, see what I can get. And one thing you probably will notice about the images as well that are done with the live grad, the foreground does seem to come a bit brighter, because obviously it's essentially sort of foxing the dynamic range. It's actually sort of bringing the foreground brighter and bringing everything down, so it becomes rather balanced. If you're using like a manual grad filter, it's very easy not to actually compensate for it and stuff like that. So basically you get a dark foreground and a somewhat darker sort of sky. But in camera, this actually sort of controls it quite well and actually adjusts the exposure, so you've got a very neutral exposure across the image. Obviously, you can adjust your sort of exposure compensations if you want to, and stuff like that. Basically, what you do, you set that up before you actually take the shot. So I'm sort of setting it up sort of ISO 200, min aperture priority as normal. Drop it onto f8 for something like this. It's got plenty of depth for it, and then sort of let it sort out the shutter speed itself. But so far, I've been very impressed with the results that you get from it. The only downside I can see to it so far is, rather than being like an instant snap, obviously it's got to sort of do it, because it is, yeah, it's a live ND, so it's layering the images together to actually get the shot. So if you've got something that's moving in frame, you've got to be a little bit mindful about that. But other than that, if you take that into account, not a problem at all. Now I'm struggling to get a couple of compositions from up here, so what I might do, I'm being a little bit careful because there's quite a lot of ferns coming up now, and it's just coming into tick season, so I'm going to be a little bit careful. I'm going to see if I can sort of just get around, get a shot sort of down the valley towards the Dudden estuary, see if I can get something looking that way. But it does mean I've got a little bit of a climb there, but I've not got my boots on, but it should be alright. It's only a little sort of wander up, so we can get up there and see what sort of things we can get a little bit further down. So a few different shots, well, I say different, all very same shots, I'm looking at the same thing, but it gives us some idea of what you can achieve with the live grad. Is it going to replace a traditional graduated ND filter? Not really, because like I say, you've got that bit where it's a computational thing, so for fast moving objects that are around, it's not going to work, so you're going to get some blur on it, which you're not going to get obviously with a proper filter. But if you're using the filters and adjusting your shutter speeds, etc., you might still get a little bit of drag from it. It's just one of the trade-offs was actually reducing the amount of light that comes in. You've got to compensate for it somehow. But certainly with what it actually can achieve in camera, I'm very impressed with what it can do. Yeah, there's a couple of bits that, yeah, maybe could be improved. mainly just the switching it off. I'd like to be able to sort of just like, even if it's just like press a button and sort of, or double tap or something like that, rather than the long press, because the long press, it's not immediately obvious that it's switched off until you sort of release the button. It's just a little software thing, but obviously this is very new. Things are going to evolve with it. It might just be me, I don't know. But hopefully it's giving you a little bit of insight as to what it's like. I'm going to drop a little bit now, showing you sort of what it's actually like, sort of on the back of the camera, so how the system works and stuff like that. I can't really do it out in the field because all you're going to see is glare, unfortunately. So I'm going to see if I can sort of link this up to actually get an output feed from it, so you can actually see what that's like. I'll put that up now, so at least then you'll see what the interface is like and how the settings sort of interact. Okay, so it's just a quick demo of actually how it works. That's everything sort of switched off at the moment. I was on this button up here, which actually turns the grad on. As you can see, it's preset from one of the previous shots. Press and hold OK. Resets it. You can just see in the top corner here, you've got G&D 4S. So it's a 4-stop graduated soft filter. Now if I actually press that button down again and use the rear bit, that takes me into the setup menu. You can see at the bottom, I can switch to an 8 or down to a 2. You can see it actually affecting it as it goes through. I seem to find that the 4 is quite a nice sort of mix, but you can actually sort of alter the settings up top as well with the front dial. So you can go to a medium grad or a hard grad. You can definitely see the difference between those two. So medium sort of fairly hard, hard grad it's quite a harsh sort of transition. But generally for the stuff I do, just use the soft. When you're done, press OK. And looks like we've got the D-pad here. We can actually move the centre point marker to wherever we want it. And using the front dial, we've got coarse control of the angle of the grad, and you can sort of go all the way around, so you can darken whichever part you actually want to. And if you need a little bit of fine tuning, the rear dial just lets you adjust on there. Now I did say a couple of minutes ago that I'd had a problem actually switching off. It's actually just me. If I press and hold the button, you'll see in the top left, G&D off, and that clears it. It was just me being impatient, so yeah, hold down for about a second and that clears it. But that's basically all there is to it. It's a really straightforward system. I mean, one thing I have discovered as well, if you sort of flip the grad on, if you actually flip through info, it'll actually give you grid, which I've got set up, all the information, so you can actually then start adjusting your shot with the grad on there, so you can actually mess around with the exposure compensations and things like that. It basically runs through the full set of info, so you've got your level dials, and then back to just the grad itself if you want to sort of readjust. So really useful, really powerful, and frankly I think it's quite a nice little setup. So hopefully that's been useful. It's an introduction to the OM-1 Mk2's graduated live ND. I'm sure you admit it's quite a powerful little feature. Yeah, the purists will say, yeah, you're doing everything computerised, it's not real. But it's still having the same effect as if I'd sort of bracketed this in post. So it's the same sort of thing, just in camera. And as you can see, I can still sort of wander around handheld, not got anything else to worry about. Beautiful it is, if you've not got a graduated ND filter, you can put your other filters on and add that afterwards. It's not a problem at all. You can add those in, not an issue at all. The only thing you can't do is the main live ND. So the actual sort of full ND filters in camera, you can't add that and the graduated. Can't do that. I don't think they'll be able to do that anyway. Maybe with doing like split bits, possibly, I'm not sure, but yeah, it's something you can't do at the moment. But great feature, really handy for really harsh, bright days like we've got today. You can play a little bit more with the scene, it just opens things up a little bit more for you. But for now, we'll leave it here. But important message for you as well is I'm starting to do some one-to-ones and workshops. Links down below, I'll put the link just below here as well. Go check it out on the website, drop us an email over if you're interested. There's a few various places that I'm sort of doing around the UK as well. It's not just sort of going to be the Lake District or anything like that. Very open to suggestions if you want to come along. But drop us an email down below. Let me know if you're interested and we can sort something out. But for now, from an incredibly bright Lake District around sort of Blowith Knott area, thanks for watching. We'll see you again next time. Take care.
Hey, you couldn't see it coming. You might have thought it, but you couldn't change it. Hey, it's not right or wrong. It's about trying, find the